Welcome back to Comics Are Awesome, where we bring you everything awesome in comics. And happy holidays, everyone! Let us celebrate the new year by an arbitrary listing of my favorite comics of 2013, in my totally biased opinion. As per tradition, here are the rules. Rule the first, it must be an ongoing series started in 2013. No OGNs, no limited series. Rule the second, there needs to be at least 3 issues out by the end of the year. It's hard to judge on a single issue. Simple as that, really. And finally, rule the thrice, I actually have to have read the book. I know this seems obvious, but while I read a ton of comics, I don't have the time or money to read every single new series that comes out. So if there's something that you feel like I missed, odds are, I just haven't read it yet. Okay, enough disclaimers, on to me making statements that you'll probably disagree with anyways. First off, the honorable mention goes to Rocket Girl, a fun series about a teenage police officer from the far-flung future of 2013, going back in time to the 1980s where she wants to prevent her future from ever happening. It's a very quirky, humorous series, and the fact that this alternate 2013 is far more technologically advanced than our own is a neat mystery. The only reason that it's not on this list is that as of this writing, only 2 issues have come out so far, but the advantage to you is that it should make it easier for you to get caught up. And now...
The warmth of your smile, smile for me, little one, and this will be our year. Took a long time to come. You don't have to worry, all your worry days are gone. And
Number 5, Quantum and Woody by James Asmus. Yeah, this is hardly a shock if you saw my review last summer of the original series of Quantum and Woody. This is the new reboot version that came out just after that video was released, where I predicted that the new version would be different but fun. And I stand by that. The story is mostly the same. 2 former friends get bonded together through advanced tech that gives them superpowers but forces them to clang their bracelets together once a day, and together they become the world's worst superheroes. But now the friends are adopted brothers and their powers are switched around, and the mix between the comedy and pathos is a bit different. I won't lie, this didn't take the place of the original Quantum and Woody for me, but that's not a huge slight against it. This is still really good, and if you haven't read the original series, there's no reason not to pick this up at all. And even if you are a fan, you'll probably get some enjoyment here. Also, I really have to give credit to Tom Fowler, who did the art for the first 4 issues. It's just cartoony enough to heighten the comedy without going too far into the slapstick. And hey, sometime after my review, they announced that Christopher Priest and MD Bright, creators of the original comic, would reunite for a limited series called Q2 that would presumably wrap up the original run. That's almost as surely wouldn't have happened without this reboot. If you're looking for a fun, jokey series, then I suggest you hang out with Quantum and Woody.
the warmth of your smile, smile for me, little one, and this will be our year. Took a long time to come. You don't have to worry, all your worry days are gone. And this
Number 4, Batman 66 by Jeff Parker. Come on, you all know it. The last couple of years have not been kind to DC Comics. Firings, cancellations, creative feuds, PR disasters, and the overall dark and angsty vibe coming from the large number of their titles have caused me to whittle the books that I buy from them down to just a tiny number. It's not that I want to dislike DC, but they haven't been giving me a whole lot of stuff I want to read. But when I heard that Jeff Parker was writing a Batman series based on the 1960 TV series, well, I was curious. Parker's a great, underappreciated writer, and the tone of the TV show is about as far removed from most of the current DC output as possible. And when I read it, it was all that and more. If you didn't grow up watching the show, this may be hard to explain, but there's a real charm to that series. And while for a time there was a bit of a backlash in the favor of grittier, realer Batman, I think the public opinion has largely come back around. I mean, how can you not love Bat Shark Repellent? And this new comic manages to capture a lot of the charm of the TV series. Really, there's not a whole lot to say about it. If you've seen the show, you probably know what to expect here. The sound effects, the holy whatevers Batman, the bright colors. But Jeff Parker wisely doesn't limit it to just mimicking the show because there's no practical budget for a comic, so he can have elaborate set pieces that would be difficult to pull off on a TV show budget today, and nigh impossible back in the 1960s. He's also able to pull in some things from the more modern comic continuity, like Dr. Harleen Quinzel at Arkham Asylum. There's just so much to love about this series, and really it's the closest to a mainstream DC comic on the list. So if you want a blast from the past, check out Batman 66, old chum.
The warmth of your smile, smile for me, little one, and this will be our year. Took a long time to come. You don't have to worry, all your worry days are gone.
Number 3, Rat Queens by Curtis Wiebe and Rock Upchurch. Those of you who have watched my review of the Dungeons & Dragons comic will remember I was a huge pen and papers role-playing nerd in my teens and into my mid-20s. If you haven't watched that, you should stop this video and watch that one, partially because I was really proud of that, but mostly because it's a really good comic that deserves attention. But regardless, shortly after I finished that video, what was supposed to be a brief hiatus for the series quickly became a quiet cancellation, leaving me once again with a reputation that my reviews kill the books that I love, and with me wanting a new, good sword and sorcery style fantasy book. While there are a few others out there, this was the one that really got my attention. Rat Queens, despite being an original setting, just oozes D&D and tabletop gaming atmosphere. Following a party of 4 adventurers who are about as much of a public menace to the city they work out of as they are likely to defend it from monsters, they complain about being given grunt adventures worth little in the way of loot, and then they blow way too much money on booze instead of needed equipment. This reminds me a lot of the gaming adventure from my RPG days. And oh yeah, the main characters are all girls. It's not dwelt on much. This isn't written as a feminism book, but I have to admit, I really think it's cool that the main characters are all written pretty much like a group of guys would be. They drink, they carouse, they act like you would expect a group of people who solve most of their problems with stabbing to act. They just happen to be ladies. And there's some nice quirks here too, like the cleric being an atheist, or the dwarf fighter being a hipster. It's fun, lighthearted, and absolutely not for children. If that doesn't bother you, then I recommend you go dungeon diving with the Rat Queens.
The warmth of your smile, smile for me, little one, and this will be our year. Took a long time to come. You don't have to worry, all your worry days are gone. And
Number 2, Astro City by Kurt Busiek and Brent Anderson. Astro City isn't a new comic per se, as it's originally launched in 1995, but this most recent volume of this creator-owned series started earlier this year, and this is the first time I've tried it out. The titular Astro City is crowded with superheroes, akin to Marvel's New York, but what makes that book far more interesting isn't the people in capes, though there's definitely some neat characters in there, but rather the setting. With most of Marvel or DC's books, there's a conceit that no matter how many fantastical things happen on a daily basis there, it's still supposed to resemble our world for the most part. The Justice League can have teleportation technology, but the average guy on the street will never will. Thor and Hercules may openly serve on the Avengers, but there's still plenty of people going to a Judeo-Christian church every week. But Astro City isn't about the superheroes. Not really. It's about the world surrounding them. It's about the guys on the street more than the guys in tights. I really enjoyed the first couple of issues, but it really clicked for me when I read the first 2-part story of a woman who takes a job at what she first thought was a normal call center, but winds up that it is, essentially, screening 911 calls for the Honor Guard, this world's big superhero team. It highlights not only a practical asset in the setting, but also the human side of things. She wants to be the one who gets the call that results in the Honor Guard saving the day, but when she instead diverts a child's call for help to more mundane authorities, she's racked with guilt when it turns out it was actually a superhero level crisis. I won't spoil the ending, but it's just one of the many stories that you should check out on the streets of Astro City.
The warmth of your smile, smile for me, little one, and this will be our year. Took a long time to come. You don't have to worry, all your worry days.
And number 1, Superior Foes of Spider-Man by Nick Spencer and Steve Lieber. There might be books that you will connect with on an emotional level more. There might be books that have a tighter plot structure. Hell, Spider-Man's name is in the title, and he doesn't even appear in the book. But I don't care. You know why? Because this book is gonzo fun. The Sinister Six used to be a team of Spider-Man's most deadly foes, all gathered together with only one common goal: to stop the accursed web crawler. Today, that storied legacy has a bit less gloss on it. Basically, the latest version of the Sinister Six is Boomerang, Shocker, Speed Demon, the Beetle, and Overdrive. And if you're paying attention, you probably caught that the Sinister Six only has 5 members. These guys are supervillain schlubs. Boomerang, the leader, is utterly self-serving, despite trying to make himself sound like he's more important than he is, and basically keeps the group together by lying through his teeth at every possible moment. Most of the series is told through his eyes, and you can tell he wants to be in the big leagues, but he just can't get a break. Speed Demon is just as self-serving, which is probably why he's Boomerang's best friend. Shocker's a coward. Overdrive's power to supercharge vehicles makes him pretty much useful only as a getaway driver, and while Beetle seems halfway competent, but she seems more occupied in keeping her face in her phone than actual villainy. While they're explicitly the bad guys, they're so inept, I don't really have a problem rooting for them. They're not out killing people or anything like that, they're just robbing from other supercriminals or performing minor crimes like stealing a dog. Certainly not heroes, or even people you want to hang around, but Nick Spencer's writing manages to draw you into them because, well, they're so dorky! It's like a heist film with supervillains mixed with Revenge of the Nerds. And that's fun! Also, major credit to artist Steve Lieber, who injects humor into everything just enough that you are instantly in on the joke. I've seen a lot of people compare this title to Hawkeye, which you may recall was on this list last year, and I can see it. So, if you're a fan of the books that break away from the traditional storytelling styles, books featuring bad guys as protagonists, or just like to laugh, you'll find something you'll like battling alongside the superior foes of Spider-Man. Well, that does it for 2013, folks. I want to thank all the creators who have had comics on this list or on the show in the last year. I want to thank all my friends and colleagues at Geek Vision. I want to thank Comic Cat, who I can't show you right now because he is licking himself in very inappropriate places right now. And I most especially want to thank you guys for watching. So until 2014, remember, comics are awesome, and we're going to continue to get the word out.
Took a long time to